This is an On the Ice and Behind the Benches podcast on the Sports for Beginners podcast feed. Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners. One night, the Blue Jays and the Tigers make no errors in a ball game. Next night, the Tigers make an error in the ball game and the Blue Jays come out victorious. Makes you wonder what happened in game number 3 of this 4-game series. It's Comerica Park's Tigers versus Rogers Center's Toronto Blue Jays on Blue Jays game recap. And it starts right now. Lights up. Let's go. Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports. From the fans' perspective, here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun. The Blue Jays and the Tigers began this series on Thursday night, I should say. And of course, that 4-game series wraps up tomorrow afternoon at, of course, Comerica Park, with the Blue Jays getting ready for a doubleheader Tuesday against the Baltimore Orioles, and Monday and Wednesday, just a regular day at the ballpark in Camden Yards. More on that series as the show progresses. But Blue Jay fans, this was our ball game to win. Was it a ball game that the Tigers should have won? Tiger fans? Yeah, they probably should have won it. But man, was it ever a good one for the Blue Jays. Look at it this way, Tiger fans and Blue Jay fans. Look at it this way. The Blue Jays and the Tigers had a perfect game Thursday night. Yes, the Tigers lost 11-4, but nobody on either team committed an error. And of course, I also am the host of this show, Thomas McGregor. I'm the host of the program. In case I forgot to mention that earlier, I do welcome you all into the show. We are currently getting ready for our player of the game, which I said we'd do after we took our first break. There is games to talk about with a look at the action ongoing. We'll keep an eye on that. Just before we wrap up the show, we'll do our attendance record. And as I mentioned, we will dive into the George Springer. Little bit of a confusion, but some clarity on what that play was to keep George Springer out, whether it was a caught stealing or not, during a force out with Tyler Heitman at the plate, who ended up going to first base on a force out. We'll talk about that if we still have time. Now, both teams committed an error in this game. Detroit committed 2 errors in last night's game, Friday night. So now they've committed 3 errors in this series, but the Blue Jays have only committed 1 error this series. It begs the question, how is Detroit going to attack being down 3-0? Now remember, we played 3 night games, tonight, Friday night, and Thursday night at Comerica Park. But now we're going to play a day game. That is tomorrow on Sunday. And if you recall, the Tigers lost to the Pirates before they faced the Blue Jays 6-1. The Blue Jays took care of business against the Yankees and took 2 out of 3, beating as far as our data shows on Wednesday, 8-4. But this game seems like a game that you never knew when a pitching duel was going to break out. Now, Kevin Gausman and, of course, Tyreek Skubal, or as I will refer to him as TS, Apologies in advance if I'm not able to say the pitcher's name, right? They ended up going a no decision, which means this was a both for both the Tigers and the Blue Jays to win. Now, look, the Tigers and the Blue Jays all had chances to win. If you look at the team comparisons, which we'll get to right now to get into our player of the game, that's coming up in just 3 minutes. But let's get you into our team comparison. Both teams did not steal a base. That should be really well put. The Blue Jays, while both teams committed an error in this game tonight, left 7 men on base, and the Tigers only left 2 men on base, hence the 2 times they touched base and the 2 hits that were allowed. They drove in 1 run, but it wasn't a home run this time. For the Blue Jays, they had 3 homers and touched base 23 times. 12 of those 3 homers were 12 hits. 6 runs were what came out of it. Now, of course, the 3 home runs came off of the bats of George Springer, Nathan Lukes, and yes, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who each, if we go back to our scoring, set a back-to-back-to-back-to-back homer inning in the 9th inning with home run after a home run after a home, and that was a pretty good game for the Blue Jays. Obviously, it wasn't a very good game for TS, his team, the Detroit Tigers, but it was a pretty good game nonetheless because both pitchers ended up putting good numbers for top performer of the game. You've got TS, otherwise known as Skabal, TS, or Tyrik Skabal, if I'm saying it right. I will try my very best to say it. 5 hits allowed, 7 strikeouts, both go 6 innings complete. George Springer, on the other hand, goes 3 for 5 with a homer and 2 RBIs to drive in a run or 2. Player of the game is Bo Bichette with his 2 for 4 game, bringing in a walk, a double, and 2 RBIs. All right, so he's your player of the game for the Blue Jays. But of course, there's got to be somewhere. There's got to be somebody on the Tigers that had a player of the game. We'll talk about that a little later. However, I do want to get into some of the finals. We mentioned that the Guardians had a doubleheader with the Kansas City Royals. And of course, it went just about as well as you'd expect, with the Royals taking it 5-3 in 10 innings. In the makeup game from last night's competition, which was rained out on July 20th. The Tampa Bay Rays fell to the Cincinnati Reds 6-2. The New York Yankees fought hard, but they lost 9-4 to the Philadelphia Phillies. And right now, those are about the only finals. In Game 2 of this doubleheader between the Kansas City Royals, the Kansas City Royals are currently down by 3 runs, or maybe just a pair of runs. It's 6-4. Guardians in the top of the 7th. In the bottom of the 7th, we have a 2-1 lead for the San Diego Padres over the St. Louis Cardinals. The game of which we talked about the last game to get ready is the Seattle Mariners and the Angels of LA, otherwise known as the LA Angels of Anaheim. They're getting ready to go as they're in the warm-up. After 1 inning of play is an error and a hit for the San Francisco Giants to the New York Mets as they begin the top of the 2nd inning with no runs on the board, but that game is just getting started. Headed to the top of the 8th, we have the Athletics with a 2-run lead as well, like the Padres over the Cardinals. It's a 2-1 lead for the Athletics over the Astros. The Boston Red Sox currently in the bottom of the 7th right now with runners on base, and now it appears as though the 7th inning has ended, so the Dodgers do escape the jam. They are headed to the top of the eighth as well. It is 4-2 Red Sox over the Dodgers. So the American League East teams that have lost so far are the Yankees and the Tampa Bay Rays. The team that has won so far is the Blue Jays. Let's see how the Orioles are doing in their match against the Rockies. Oh boy, the game is probably over. Orioles are leading by 17 runs and 15 hits to the 2 errors committed by the Rockies and the 1 hit committed by the Rockies. And going into the bottom of the eighth, it might be tack on for the Orioles. They lead it 17-0 over the Rockies, heading into the bottom of the eighth inning. Also in the bottom of the eighth inning, we have the Milwaukee Brewers and Miami Marlins in action. That game, 7-3 Marlins over the Brewers. Speaking of almost over, in the bottom of the eighth, now I guess top of the ninth inning, the Cubs have put 2 3-run leads in the eighth and seventh inning, leading the Chicago White Sox as that game approaches the ninth inning. In the bottom of the eighth, we have the Pirates leading the Diamondbacks 2-0, and the Texas Rangers are currently tied at 4 runs apiece. It's 4-4 Atlanta Braves and the Texas Rangers each have 4 runs. Did a game go final without us noticing? Let's see. Let's see. Did a game go final? No, a game did not go final just yet, but there will be a game going final, I'm sure, as we continue to talk about the games. Our American League and National League standings update coming up very, very shortly. And that's, of course, when we start to finish off the show. But now that we've gotten at least some sense of where Tigers and the Blue Jays are at, with their records being 63-42 for the Blue Jays, 60-46 for the Tigers. Let's get you set up with what their matchups look like after they wrap up this 4-game series before we get into what will include our final break of the program, and that is our American League and National League standings update. We'll do it in parts. We'll do the American League standings update before finishing off the show with the attendance record of tonight's ball game, my thoughts on the game, George Springer, is controversial outplay, should the Blue Jays have challenged it or not. And of course, I'm referring to the force out, and we'll dive in to the National League standings update as the games go on. But right now, let's dive in to what's up for the Tigers and what's up for the Blue Jays as they officially play their 4th game of this 4-game series. And who better to set that game up than the team of conversation pitching matchup, of which we will talk about after our next and final break. Before we get there, the Blue Jays have seen the Tigers and have taken 3 out of 4. Can they take 4 out of 4 against the Tigers? We shall see. The Diamondbacks are next up on the slate for your Detroit Tigers. They'll play 3 beginning Monday at 6:40 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:40 p.m. Central Time, 4:40 p.m. Mountain Time, and 3:40 p.m. Pacific Time. And it'll be the same on Tuesday, where if you are a special ticket holder package, the first fans upon entry at the ballpark will receive a Grateful Dead specialty ticket giveaway. I don't know what that is, actually. It looks like something to do with some sort of theme they have on Tuesday. I have no idea what it is, but that'll be available on Tuesday. They will have it wrap up for you on the Wednesday with a first pitch flying on the East Coast at 1:10 p.m. Eastern Time. 12:10 p.m. Central Time will be the first pitch there. And then, of course, 11:10 a.m. in the morning Mountain will be the first pitch time on the Mountain. And that, I believe, will be a 10:10 a.m. first pitch on the Pacific Coast. So early morning baseball for you on the Pacific. If you are into morning baseball, that's at 10:10 a.m. in the morning. While the Blue Jays will head home for a short 3-game series after 4 against the Orioles beginning August 1st against the Kansas City Royals and ending August 3rd. The Phillies will host a short 3-game homestand against the Tigers beginning on August 1st at 6:45 p.m. Eastern Time, Friday. And that will wrap up with a night game on Sunday, a day game on Saturday at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. 7:10 p.m. Eastern will be the Sunday game on August 3rd. And then they'll have a 6-game homestand prior to day off on August 7th, beginning Monday against the Twins, wrapping up on Wednesday. And then Friday, we have a weekend set against the LA Angels of Anaheim and the Blue Jays Tiger opponents that we see one more time tomorrow on Sunday. We'll finish that series on August 10th. Then they've got a 7-game road trip with 4 against the Twins starting Thursday and 3 in Chicago, not where Wrigley Field is, where the White Sox play. That'll begin Monday. The series and the road trip wraps up on Sunday, August 17th, before they're back for another 3-game homestand with 3 against the Royals and 3 against the Astros. That's 6 games total, but 3-game series. Then, of course, the final road trip of August, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's take a look at where the Blue Jays are at with the next matchup for your Tigers being against the Arizona Diamondbacks beginning Monday. Now, Blue Jays fans, as mentioned, the Blue Jays will play what was supposed to be 3-game series, but due to a doubleheader Tuesday, will be a 4-game series with the first pitch of game 1 flying at 12:35 p.m. Eastern, 11:35 a.m. Central, 10:35 a.m. Mountain Time, and 9:35 a.m. Pacific Time. The next game will fly at 6:35 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:35 p.m. Central Time, 4:35 Mountain Time is the start for the Mountain, and 3:35 p.m. Pacific Time. That will be the start for the Pacific at 3:35, weather permitting, of course, at Camden Yards. Series will start on Monday at 6:35 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:35 p.m. Mountain, and of course 5:35 p.m. Central. And it's a day game on Wednesday at the same time opposite the doubleheader on July 30th, before the Blue Jays make their way to City Connect Night, Friday, August 1st, for a short 3-game homestand against the Kansas City Royals, wrapping up on Junior J Sunday at 1:37 p.m. Eastern Time. They'll hit the road for 3 against the Rockies and 3 against the Dodgers with a day off Thursday, with the first pitch of the Rockies series finale kicking off at 3:10 p.m. Eastern Time, 3:10 p.m. Eastern Time, 2:10 p.m. Central Time, 1:10 p.m. Mountain Time, and 12:10 p.m. Pacific. Yeah, that makes better sense. The first 2 games will, of course, be night owl games starting at 8:40 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday and Tuesday. Then it's night owl game for you at 10:10 Friday night in Los Angeles, with the LA Dodgers hosting the Blue Jays for a weekend set, wrapping up on Sunday at 4:10 p.m. Eastern Time, August 10th. The Blue Jays will return home for another City Connect night on City Connect Fridays, but not before Ludi Dogs night and Work from Dome present Anthony Santander switch hitter bobblehead night in 3 against the Cubs, beginning Tuesday night and wrapping up on Thursday. Then, of course, it is the Texas Rangers wrapping up that 6-game homestand before they make the trip to PNC Park and Miami for 6 games. 3 games in different ballparks. 3 games for the Pirates, 3 games for the Marlins, both in different ballparks. And they'll wrap up their August with 6-game homestand with 3 against the Twins and 3 against the Milwaukee Brewers. Weather permitting, for the post-game fireworks, which will be the second post-game fireworks for City Connect night, August 20th, as the first is with the Kansas City Royals on August 1st. Just a quick reminder that July wraps up for the Tigers like this. They'll play 3 against the Diamondbacks after wrapping up a 4-game series with the Blue Jays tomorrow. That series, of course, begins Monday. They'll hit the road to play the Philadelphia Phillies, come home for 6 games against the Angels and 6 games against the Twins, totaling to a 6-game homestand. Then they'll hit the road for 3 games against the White Sox and 4 against the Twins, beginning Thursday, August 4th, before they come home for 6 games against the Astros and 6 games against the Royals. 3 games Astros, 3 games at Kansas City, 6-game homestand. And they'll have 3 against the Royals on the road with 3 against the Athletics to wrap up August in Sacramento. The Blue Jays will wrap up their August schedule into September with the Twins and the Milwaukee Brewers. And there you pretty much have it, Blue Jay fans and Tiger fans. There you pretty much have it. Once we're through August, because that's the month we're going to, it's about time to get closer and closer to, in hockey terms, hockey season, in football terms, football season, basketball terms, basketball season, but in baseball season terms, the postseason. That's right, October is just around the corner. It's actually just about a month away as we end the July month. And now we're going into our break, which is obviously now supposed to be one of our breaks that lead into our final break, but this will be our final break. Just a quick check-in on the games. Did the games between the Royals and the Guardians officially final? No, that game is currently in the bottom of the 8th right now, with the Guardians still leading 6-4 after losing the game in 10 innings to the Royals. The Orioles did, however, beat the Rockies. Remember how I said it was 17-0? Well, they have shut out the Rockies 18-0. Their record now is 46-58. The Rockies' record is 27-77. The Pirates take it 2-0 over the Diamondbacks. The Reds take it 6-2 over the Rays. The Yankees 9-4 losers over the Philadelphia Phillies. It is without a doubt that we still have a ton of baseball to get to, but it looks like the Chicago White Sox will get 1 run and final 6-1 in favor of the Cubs, with the bottom of the 9th inning coming in the Chicago Cubs' favor. That game looks like it has. In the bottom of the 9th, we have the Milwaukee Brewers down to their final out with a runner on first base, but they're making a case to try and tag on as many runs as they possibly can. It is 7-4 Marlins over the Brewers. Speaking of 7-4, we have a 5-1 lead for the Athletics in the top of the 9th inning with a runner on first at 2 outs. In the bottom of the 9th, we have a 5 game for the Braves, hoping to hold on to a 5-4 lead over the Texas Rangers. Will that happen? Who knows? The Giants currently through 3 innings of play and scoreless at no runs apiece. Our American League and National League standings update is going to wait until we come back from our final break, which would have been our break to take us into the final break, but it will be our final break of the program as we are going to do both the National League and the American League standings update next. The attendance record still to come when Blue Jays game recap continues. Stay with us.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches. All right, Blue Jay fans, Tiger fans, we are going into the last pieces of this Blue Jays game recap. And of course, right now, things are riding really, really high for the Blue Jays. Currently just 6-5 games. We are riding really, really high right now. We are 9 games up on Boston Red Sox. Maybe we're even 10 games up on the Red Sox. We are 10 games up on the Tampa Bay Rays. That is definitely a for sure factor. The Blue Jays may see that the Yankees are only 6.5 back of the American League East Division, but their wild card hopes are starting to fade as they're only a game and a half up on the wild card, one exact, with their record now 56-48. They're still currently in place to have a wild card division, but the Blue Jays have won 4 straight right now. Their record is 63-42. The Tigers' record is 60-46. Compare that to the division leader of the American League West, Astros. It's 60-44 currently, but that game, of course, with the Astros and the Athletics is currently underway. The Tigers and the Blue Jays wrap up a series tomorrow of 4 games. Who's going to win that game? Has the series officially been won by the Blue Jays? Well, we know the answer to that question, but we're going to ask it anyway. The New York Yankees are wrapping up a series with the Philadelphia Phillies. Will they get swept by the Philadelphia Phillies, or will they take 1 out of 3 against the Philadelphia Phillies, with 4 games coming up against the Tampa Bay Rays, who currently face the Cincinnati Reds? The Texas Rangers record right now, as they are against the Atlanta Braves, is 54-50. The Boston Red Sox and Seattle Mariners records, as far as the second place and third place wild card spots, are 55-49, 56-50. That's the Red Sox record. And the Mariners record is 55 wins and 49 losses. They are currently in action on a 1-game losing streak against the LA Angels of Anaheim. The Dodgers are against the Boston Red Sox, which currently the Boston Red Sox have picked up a win. That means they have defeated the Dodgers in tonight's contest by a final score of 4-2. And it looks like the Kansas City Royals game has also gone final with a split doubleheader in which, according to our standings update, would indicate that the Royals and the Guardians records are 51-52, but the Guardians record might be 52-52 with this victory, as the game has gone final, which would leave the Royals record 54 losses and 51 wins. As the game was currently live, they were on a 2-game winning streak, I should say. That will now change to, I believe, a 1-game losing streak, with a 1-game winning streak going to the Cleveland Guardians. as they split the doubleheader, but you never know. The Nationals are currently playing the Minnesota Twins, and unless that game has gone final, and I believe it has, or is about to go final, it's 9-3 Nationals over the Minnesota Twins. In the top of the second right now, we have a scoreless game, of course, against the Angels with the Mariners. Through 4 innings, we're scoreless so far through one half of the fourth inning with the Mets and the Giants pretty even on hits, 4-3 in the hits, but one error separates them, and that's of course San Francisco Giants committing an error. We're in the 10th inning for the Texas Rangers have tied it at 5 runs apiece. It's 5-5 Braves Texans as the Texas Rangers and the Atlanta Braves are tied at 5 going into the bottom of the 10th inning, and the Rangers are threatening to walk it off with 2 runners on first and second base and nobody out. Meanwhile, in the Padres game, it is a 3-1 lead over the St. Louis Cardinals. That is a 2-run lead, and it looks like it'll stay that way. But let's see how the Cardinals fare. It is a 3-1 count to Nolan Arenado. No damage done. It looks like that game has gone final, or has it gone final? Right now, we're told there's 2 outs, but one game seems to have gone final, and I believe that is the 10-inning finish of which we were talking, which was tied at 5. That is indeed the 10-inning finish, and it is 6-5 victors. The Rangers take care of business over the Atlanta Braves. So one game was a doubleheader that ended up in regulation innings in the second half of the doubleheader, while one game needed 10 innings to decide the winner, and that, of course, was the Royals, 5-3. But then, of course, the Guardians answered back with a 6-4 win. And now the Rangers play 10 innings, and they answer with this 6-5 victory in 10 innings. Not a lot of action on the slate right now, but we do have the Twins in the bottom of the 9th inning with nobody out, trying to get in to a 9-3 lead over the Nationals. In the bottom of the 4th, still scoreless with the Mets and the Giants. Should be fun to get to the end of those games. Let's take a look at the rest of that American League standings update with the games having gone final. Now, most games are still underway, but by the time you hear this, the records will have changed. And we'll get into the National League wildcard leaders as well. As mentioned, the Tampa Bay Rays and for the Texas Rangers, it's now 54-50. They're just one game back of a wild card spot right now, having won 4 straight games. The next game, of course, is Atlanta. Series wraps up. Cincinnati wraps up their series with the the Tampa Bay Rays. And Kansas City will wrap up their series with the Cleveland Guardians, who is now on a 2-game losing streak and a 1-game winning streak, I should say, with a 1-game losing streak for the Kansas City Royals, and of course, the Kansas City Royals' opponent, the Cleveland Guardians. But maybe double hitters don't count. Maybe splitting double hitters does not count. No matter the issue, the Twins currently live with the Washington Nationals, 50-53 is the record. The LA Angels live against Seattle, their record 50-40 at 54. So they are 50-54. The Orioles record, as they pick up a victory over the Rockies, is now 46-58. They're on a 1-game winning streak, just like the Angels are, for the most part. The Athletics have now won 3 straight, and they are 11.5 games out of a wild card spot, 45-62. The White Sox are 38-67. They are 38-67. So they are 0.5 games out of a wild card spot. And their series with Chicago wraps up, who is currently the leader, or so you thought. Tiebreaker. The Brewers and the Cubs are yet again tied for the National League Central at 61 wins and 43 losses. If you want National League Central matchups, here you go. It's the Brewers fighting for the National League Central Division over the Chicago Cubs, with one team on a one-game winning streak and one team on a two-game losing streak. One team is against Miami, and the other team, well, they're against the White Sox, a team that has now lost 67 games. Miami, on the other hand, well, they've lost how many games? Oh, yeah, that's right. I think they've lost about they've only lost 53 games. Their series continues with the Milwaukee Brewers, and I believe it's going to wrap up on Sunday. St. Louis Cardinals are 54 and 51, just 1.5 game out of the wild card. And remember, tiebreaker alert, we talked about the National League Central up for grabs. Well, how about the National League East up for grabs as well? The Mets and the Phillies continue to stay tied at 60 and 44, with one team having won 5 games in a row and one team having won 2 games in a row. Both teams are on winning streaks, 5-game winning streak for the Mets and 2-game winning streak for the Phillies. For now, the Mets and the Phillies are tied, but the Mets are against San Francisco in a scoreless game. The Phillies wrap up their series with the Yankees, a chance to potentially bring out the Bruins and sweep the New York Yankees. Can they do it? We'll soon find out. Right now, the only team that doesn't have someone fighting for their division is the LA Dodgers, who wrap up their series with the Boston Red Sox, I believe, tomorrow. And that, of course, is a 61 and 44 record right now to the Boston Red Sox record, which is now 56 and 50, wrapping up their series. So they are currently the leaders of the West. But for how long? Maybe longer than we think. The wild card teams are currently the Mets and Phillies, the Milwaukee Brewers, and the Cubs. And at the very bottom of that list, we have the San Diego Padres at 55 and 49. Each of the tiebreaker teams are plus 5 games in on a wild card spot. But who's going to take second place in the wild card? Who's going to take first place in the National League East? Who's going to take first place in the National League Central? It's up for grabs right now, but who's it going to be? I'm sure we'll have an answer by Sunday. The Cincinnati Reds are 55 and 50, just 5 games out of a wild card, and they are on a roll. They have won 3 straight games. Up next for them is Tampa Bay to wrap up their series before Tampa Bay makes its way to New York for 4 games. San Francisco Giants are on a 1-game losing streak right now, scoreless against the New York Mets. As mentioned, they are 1 game back of the wild card spot with 54 wins and 50 losses. This could be huge if the Mets lose to the Giants, and the Phillies would probably hold the National League East coming into the series finale against the New York Yankees. So it could be huge if San Francisco wins. The Cardinals are in play with the Pod, and they're at 54 and 51. With, of course, their team in the Padres that they're facing, which is an American team, I believe. It's an American League team, I think, the Padres. No, it is a National League team. So they're against one of the wild card teams, who is 55 and 49 right now. 54 and 51 is the St. Louis Cardinals record, with just a game back and 5 out of a wild card spot. So 1.5 games back of a wild card spot with 2 games on their winning streak. They could easily go to 3 with the win against the Padres today. The Arizona Diamondbacks on the losing streak right now and currently 51 wins, 54 losses. But also 4.5 games out of a wild card spot are the Miami Marlins, who wrap up their series with the Milwaukee Brewers with 50 and 53 being the record. They hope to change to 51 and 53 on Sunday. and give the Milwaukee Brewers a 61-44 record on Sunday. Will that happen? We'll find out tomorrow. Pirates are 43-62 and just 12.5 games out of a wild card, but they're on a winning streak right now against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Will they continue to win games? We'll see how Sunday's game pans out. The Atlanta Braves currently on a 3-game losing streak, and they're against the Texas Rangers, who, in the Texas Rangers case, have handed the Atlanta Braves 58 losses, but the Atlanta Braves have won 44 games. Should be a fun one to get to the end of that one. The Nationals currently live against the Minnesota Twins at 41-62, 10.5 games back of a wild card spot. And it is absurd, probably, but very unlikely, that the Colorado Rockies will be anywhere close to a postseason run. They're currently on a 1-game losing streak to the Nationals' 2-game losing streak at 27 wins and 77 losses. Their series with the Orioles wraps up on Sunday, July 27th, 2025. So some big things have to happen for the Rockies if they want any chance at coming into these divisions and taking their name out of the question of being eliminated. I still think there's a lot of baseball to be played, but there's not very many months left of baseball. We are into August after Sunday, and that is about the end of July. The American League and National League standings update look like these throughout both divisions. It's pretty unlikely Colorado is going to make a run. They are 33.5 games out of the division. The Diamondbacks are just 10 games out of a division, and only 6.5 games are the Giants right now out of the division, but 5 games back are the Padres against the LA Dodgers, who currently hold sole possession of the National League West. As far as the Milwaukee Brewers and Chicago Cubs, they are both in trouble with a 6.5 game back of the Cincinnati Reds and an 8-game back of the St. Louis Cardinals, who could easily take over the Cubs and the Milwaukee Brewers' lead, with the records 643 being the topic of conversation of who's going to win. But remember, these guys are wrapping up their series with the Miami Marlins and the Chicago White Sox on July 27th. So it's still up for grabs. And you got the Pittsburgh Pirates at 18.5 out of the out of the division, but only 13 games out of a wild card. And they're on a winning streak as well right now. As far as the National League East goes, now that division is again up for grabs, but there's people like the Washington Nationals, who are 18 games out of the division, 13.5 games back of a wild card. And at the very top of that list, 15.5 games out of a division, but only 11 games out of the wild card, is the Atlanta Braves, who currently see a 9.5 game out of the division Miami Marlins and 5 games out of a wild card to take over the Philadelphia Phillies and the New York Mets record of the National League East. Will that happen? Who knows? I guess answers will be revealed on Sunday. All right, everybody, we're getting into that closing moment. Now, I did want to save some time to talk about George Springer's controversial force out, but it does not look like we'll have time to talk about that. So I'll leave it at this. Call it what you will, but at the end of the day, the Blue Jays have taken 3 games out of this 4-game series. And although this game was pretty quiet until, well, the 8th inning, the Blue Jays are 1 game away from taking all 4 games of the series. They have won the season series, or at least they have won the series, but will they have all 4? I mentioned in game 1 that it's very tough to do, especially on the road, and we saw that happen. So we saw that happen at Rogers Center when the Blue Jays and Yankees opened up a 4-game series with the Blue Jays taking all 4. Something that has never happened in the Blue Jays and Yankees series of seasons that they have played, especially Rogers Center. We will take a 30-second timeout to wrap up this show, And that, of course, on Sports for Beginners and on the ice and behind the benches means we'll be getting you ready for game number 4 of this 4-game series, scheduled to throw first pitch at 1:40 p.m. Eastern. The rest of the times coming up next. Still some games on for you, but not very many as of right now. Mainly just the Angels and the Mariners, and the Mets and the Giants will rejoin those games and wrap up this show in 30 seconds. See you after this 30-second timeout.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
All right, Blue Jay fans, all right, Tiger fans, time to wrap up this series tomorrow at 1:40 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:40 p.m. Central Time, 11:40 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific, with the first pitch on the Pacific going through Comerica Park at 10:40. The winning pitcher once again is Braden Fisher. His record 4-0. His ERA, which is short for earned run average, 2.67. And of course, the losing pitcher is for the Tigers, as they do lose this game 6-1. Will Vest, number 19. His record 5-2 with the loss. His ERA, earned run average, 2.58. 2.58 ERA. The Blue Jays have taken 3 out of 4. They have won the season series of 4 games with 3 games. But have they taken all 4? Will they take all 4? We'll see what Max Scherzer on the mound for the Blue Jays has in store for the Tigers tomorrow afternoon, as he'll take on Jack F for the Tigers. Jack Flaherty, I believe is how we say it. I could be wrong. Oh no, Jack Flaherty, I should say. Yeah, Jack Flaherty will get the start against Max Scherzer, or as Blue Jay fans are better known to call him, as he's a veteran Hall of Famer at this point. He is no doubt a Hall of Famer. Mad Max. We're going to call him Max Scherzer versus Jack Flaherty. He gets the start for the Blue Jays against Jack Flaherty. That is going to be a great match, and it's sure to be quite a meaningful one. The Blue Jays and Tigers finished this game, of which started at 6:10 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:10 p.m. Central Time, 4:10 p.m. Mountain Time, 3:10 p.m. Pacific at Comerica Park, in front of an attendance record of 40,528 fans in attendance. The pitching matchup was pretty simple, straightforward. Kevin Gausman versus otherwise known as Tariq Skubal, if I'm saying that right. Again, apologies in advance if I'm not saying it right. Both starting pitchers go 6 innings, strike out 7 each, but Kevin Gausman has struck out 3 more batters than TS did in this game. The bullpen consisted of Will Vest. We had them sent out Will Vest alongside Tommy K. And the last pitcher to play in this ball game was none other than Chase Lee, with Mason Floharte, Tommy Nance, and Braden Fisher getting the bullpen from Kevin Gausman and the Toronto Blue Jays. Braden Fisher with the win, and of course, Will Vest with the loss. Will the starting pitching finally get a win in Game 4? They got wins in Game 1 and 2, but will they get a win in Game 4 of this series? And the better question is, Blue Jay fans, will the Tigers avoid the brooms at Comerica Park as the Blue Jays take 3 out of 4 so far, and they could potentially clear the 4-game series with all 4 games. Will that happen? Who knows? For now, just a reminder, in case you missed it, the Blue Jays have 4 against the Orioles beginning Monday with the doubleheader Tuesday, and then the last game will be on Wednesday. It's 3 against the Diamondbacks for the Tigers after this series wraps up with the Blue Jays tomorrow afternoon. The Blue Jays will hit home. The Tigers will hit the road for 3 against the Phillies, while the Blue Jays head home for 3 against the Kansas City Royals at Rogers Center to kick off August. Oh boy, what a series of matchups we have coming up in the remaining months of the baseball season. If you're joining late night baseball, we have a 1-run lead now for the Giants that you can check out in the top of the 6th inning over the Mets. The runs scored is 1 run for the Giants, no run for the Mets. They currently have 4 hits, no errors committed, but the Giants have 6 hits, 1 error committed, and of course, they have the 1 run. The Angels are currently tied in the bottom of the 3rd inning with 1 run to the Mariners and 1 run to the Angels. The Angels have 1 hit. The Mariners have 4. That game is tied at 1 run apiece. The Blue Jays win and take their record to 63-42 over a 60-46 record. Tigers, who are hoping to go 61-46, and hopefully the Blue Jays 63-43 Sunday. Will that happen, Blue Jays fans? We all hope not. Tiger fans, we hope that the Blue Jays take you down in 4 games. But if not the case, what a great series it's been. And unfortunately, it hasn't been your night 3 nights in a row. Maybe it'll be your afternoon. Sunday. Again, Blue Jay fans and Tiger fans, just to simplify it for you, I'm not saying that Scherzer or Jack will guarantee a victory for the Tigers or the Blue Jays. What I am saying is that hopefully it's a great game like all 3 of these games have been. And I'm reminding Blue Jay fans that after we wrap up this series with the Tigers on Sunday, we'll have for you some notes about whether or not we're covering the doubleheader, Game 1 and Game 3 of what was supposed to be a 3-game series is now a 4-game series against the Baltimore Orioles on the ice and behind the benches and sports for beginners. Once again, the Blue Jays take 3 out of 4, beating the Tigers 6-1 in front of an attendance record of 40,000 fans in attendance. That is 40,528 fans in attendance. What will the record be after Sunday? Tune in and find out. We'll have it for you. For now, let's eavesdrop on Comerica Park. And just like Mike Wilner would say, good night from Detroit, Michigan, Comerica Park. And we say here on Blue Jays Game Recap, lights up, let's go. Blue Jays Tigers Game 4 coming your way after the first pitch flies at 1:40 p.m. Eastern Time. See you all then. Enjoy the rest of the series. And if you're staying up for the baseball games, enjoy watching Angels, Mariners, Giants, Mets. But we look forward to seeing you all again for Game 4 of this series, which wraps up tomorrow. It's Jack versus Scherzer in the series finale. Have yourselves a great night.
Thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time. Hey Blue Jays fans, a Blue Jays game recap for Sports for Beginners. It is your host of On the Ice and Behind the Benches, the podcast, Thomas McGregor here. While it may have come to an end on Sports for Beginners, I highly encourage you to stay tuned for further updates on Sports for Beginners as they are taking a new path. But don't be afraid to join me during the next road series as Blue Jays game recap continues on the ice and behind the benches. From all of us at Sports for Beginners who put Blue Jays game recap into play, thank you very much for joining us and listening to the show. If you'd like to see it again, please let our host of Sports for Beginners know, and have yourselves a great All-Star weekend and a great second half. See you then.